This is kind of an experiment for me, but I'm trying something new. So, I spent like the last 3 or 4 years, instead of reading novels and being really productive and writing things, and I kind of like sit in my house and write philosophy. Because I thought, you should read philosophy for once in your life, Before you die, you should spend 3 years trying to figure it out. This professor told me that philosophy is, quote, the ultimate truth of reality, which just sounds like hamster. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean. But he has a doctorate, so I listened to him. He told me the truth. So I'm going to give you a short history of philosophy in 10 minutes here. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try to tie it all together. So I'm going to start with Plato. So you have Socrates, and you have ancient Greece, and civilization starts right before, they're all like in the tribes and everything, and they're all living in tribes, and they probably have like things in their mouth, and they live, dressed in leather, and they decide to build a city and everything. And they're all living their city lives for the first time in history, like a 20,000 person city. And Socrates walks around, and he's like, have you ever read Plato? It's just people talking. It's like people chilling at a coffee house, or you get really drunk at a party and someone decides to discuss the meaning of life and if there's God and whatever. But philosophy is a little bit deeper than that. So Socrates is like, all right, so we talk all the time. We say sentences all the time to each other. And he goes, okay, what does virtue mean? What does good mean? What does bad mean? Basically, he said, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying all the time. What the fuck are you saying? What the fuck are you saying? And so everyone's like, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. We don't know what fucking words mean. And so that's the beginning of philosophy, is that we don't know what fucking words mean. And then you move on to Aristotle, comes right after. And Aristotle is basically the philosophy major at the party who is really drunk and decides to give a fucking opinion on everything. Like, we have a philosophy major in one of my classes at school, and one day he wore, like, those shoes they now sell with your toes and they're all web-like and everything? He gave, like, a 6-minute monologue on why he bought those shoes and how they compare to the flip-flops, which is Aristotle. He basically talked about animals, he talked about government, he talked about theater, poetry. He was that guy at the party that had a fucking opinion on everything, from peanut butter to goddamn movies, everything. So that happens, and then we move on to Cicero in Rome, and he basically tells everyone that he doesn't really discuss the words or anything. He just says you need to have since you live in society, and society provides you with roads and food, and the government gives you, they get the food to the city, and they organize the roads, and they organize the schools, and they organize this and that. You have some kind of duty to everyone, because everyone's part of it and everything. He said you had so much of a duty that since he was you all read Julius Caesar in high school, I'm sure, and then he was part of the crew that killed Caesar, and they came to kill him, and he was so happy to serve the state that he actually put his neck up, and he let it slice his neck right off and slice his head off. Cicero and Socrates were both killed. It's a very lovely story. That's what happens to philosophers, I guess, back in the day. So we move on to St. Augustine. And St. Augustine came right after the fall of the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire stretched all the way from Iraq to Spain to Germany and all the way down into Algeria. And so that falls and collapses, and everyone has like a fucking panic attack. Could you imagine? Your whole world just crashes down around you, and everyone's like this and this and this, Everything just falls apart one day. And people started saying it was the Christians and everything. So St. Augustine wrote this book called City of God. And if you're not a Christian and you live now, I probably no one is really super Christian in this room. But he says this strange thing about the City of God, which is really not said before, is that you can live in a world where you make your own morals, and you make your own values, and you make your own world. Of course, you're just supposed to take on the Jesus world, in his view, and you're just supposed to be like Jesus, and you're supposed to behave like Jesus. But it was cool because, in a way, he said, no matter how fucked up your culture is, no matter who's out there buying stupid shit and shopping at stupid stores and living their stupid lives and fucking obsessed with fantasy football and fucking, stupid crap you see every day of your life, you can go, I'm going to do this no matter what. And even if your culture makes messed up laws and does horrible things, Dick Cheney or something, torturing people, waterboarding people, you can go, I have not waterboarded anybody, I do not believe in it. You can have your own rules. So, there isn't really much philosophy for a while. And then Immanuel Kant comes for a very long time. I'm talking, there's a little bit St. Thomas Aquinas and everything, but no, he's not that much. So we're skipping like 1,000 years, and we're getting all the way to Immanuel Kant here. And he's the one who says you have to do a duty. Like, you do a duty to be good. Like, you show up to your parents' house on Christmas even if you don't want to. You show up to your parents' house on Thanksgiving even if you don't want to. You follow the rules of society even if you don't want to because it's your duty. And it's selfless. I mean, there are selfless acts, you know. And he also said this strange thing about sentences. We're all back to the sentences again, because I guess in Germany they forgot how, you know, they realized they didn't know what they were saying again. So you have analytic and synthetic sentences. An analytic sentence is saying, like, my penis is extended, which means the penis is straight, you know, or my body is extended, or a telephone pole is extended. And that's the truth of that sentence is contained in the sentence. And it's an a priori sentence, which means you don't even say it out loud. Everybody already knows that, you know. We know what a door is. It's, you know, to protect what's that. We're staying inside. The door keeps outside out there. We know what that is. And then there's a synthetic sentence, which is like, my penis is awesome. Which would be, I'd have to, like, basically, you'd have to see it and touch it and everything for you to know that it's awesome. The truth isn't contained in the sentence. It's outside the sentence. So that was pretty remarkable. Everyone was like, oh my god, man, that's how you talk. That's how we talk all the time. And so we're going to skip ahead to Nietzsche because everybody loves Nietzsche and he's so much fun. And the thing about Nietzsche is that he kind of reflects upon St. Augustine. But he says, oh man, we don't even need God anymore. God's dead. You know, that's famous for everybody loves that one. And then he said, God's dead. So we can evaluate our own morals. And he still says the same type of thing. Is that you can be yourself and you can make your life like a novel and you can make it into beautiful things. Like you can think of your life as like this great artistic project that takes place in the universe, your little body walking around making your life. Think about it. And he says, and everyone goes, oh, he says people need to be strong and you need to have the will of power, you know, but I mean, you need to man up sometimes, that's true, you know? And then, philosophy kind of ends with the Wittgenstein, and he says that he solved all the problems of philosophy. Now this is what he means, and this is so strange. And he says that you can have sentences you can't say that aren't meaningful. Like if you say, "This writer is the best writer that ever lived. This band is the best that ever was. This movie is the best I've ever seen. This person's ugly. This person's stupid." These are subjective truths, and these sentences don't mean anything. That's the thing, is like they mean nothing. But a sentence that means something is like, this thing is made of wood, this is made of wood, there is Mallory. If I said Mallory is pretty, that sentence means nothing. But it does mean something.
Thanks, Will.
I'm getting to it, don't worry. And he also said you have logical sentences. And this is, you can watch the news and see this. You can look at our political climate and easily see this. So I'm going to read 3 logical sentences to you. We should tax less because the rich will have more money to invest, which will create jobs. Sentence 1. Sentence 2. We should spend money on public programs because that will put more money statistically into the economy faster. Sentence 2. Third sentence. Our government is in a lot of debt and has no money, and we should let the Bush tax cuts expire and spend less, even if it makes life harder. 3 sentences. All these are the most important sentences in this room right now. These are the 3 most important sentences in all of our lives at this moment. What these sentences mean. All of them are logical. All of them are perfectly logical sentences. And they can enter your brain and you can make logic out of them. Your brain will make sense out of them. And your brain's built this way to make sense out of sentences. And they make sense. And he was like, oh, fucking sentences make sense. So how many times a day can you make a sentence that makes sense that contradicts the other sentences? And this is a lot of confusion comes from in language and in philosophy and in our own thinking in our own lives. We can make a sentence that makes sense, but we can make multiple sentences that make sense concerning the same thing. So then he says, my sentences are clearing in this way. He who understands me finally recognizes them as senseless. When he has climbed out through them, on them, over them, he must, so to speak, throw away the ladder after he has climbed up on it. So I did this big journey and this investigation into philosophy, and you have to ask, what is truth then? So I'm back to Socrates, and this is a 2,400-year-old question, what is truth? And he says you can't say it, and you can't just write it down. It's more than that. It's beyond language. So it's like, I watched this movie today called Tigers in the Snow or something like this, about tigers in Siberia, and there's all these like scientists working on these tigers, you know, trying to save them. Now, they're doing all these science things, they're doing all these calculations, but we know from Heidegger and Wittgenstein that science doesn't think, math doesn't think. So what's the truth there? The truth is that they're trying to save the tigers, that's why they're doing these little things. And in math, what you think is true, they're just sentences, they don't think. But we know when a bridge is too short because it'll fall down. You know what I mean? The truth is the bridge is there because we need to get across it. And if I say to Mallory, Mallory, you are very pretty. The truth of the situation is I want her to know that I am feeling something in my body. It's a sensation, and I want her to know it. And that's where that truth comes from. You can't say it. The sentence doesn't mean anything because you could disagree or you could disagree. But that's where the beauty of it comes from. And the feeling. So we have to, like, I'm just trying to say that, like, at the end of philosophy, that you can't just write down the truth sometimes, that you have to feel it, and you have to look beyond language, and you have to look beyond it. All right, that's it. Thank you very much.